afternoon and welcome to the Wattics Energy Learning Community. My name is Amy Ryan, coming to you from the MX Energy Management Show, and today I have with me Dr. Andrew Lewry, who is the Principal Consultant at BREEAM at BRE. Welcome, Dr. Lewry.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone who's actually watching.
Could you give us a brief introduction of BRE and what the organisation's mission and goals are?
BRE is one of the biggest research establishments for the built environment in the world. It's a charity owned by the BRE Trust, but its mission statement is to help improve the built environment for both the occupiers and for the users. It contains several arms. We have a certification arm, a consultancy arm, a research arm, and we also have an academy for training. Alongside that, we do lots of work with other organisations worldwide, and we have innovation parks where we actually build buildings on their sites. We have one in Watford, China. We're building one in Brasilia, and also in Canada. And we have one in Scotland where we actually showcase buildings. We build them and test the technologies within them. We also provide a lot of publications and best practice advice, and we work with other organisations. For example, in energy, we work with ESTA, and we have a series of joint publications about energy management best practice over the last 5 years.
You are the Principal Consultant for the existing buildings team at BREEAM. Can you tell me a bit about what are the current activities at BREEAM? What are you currently working on?
BREEAM itself is the sustainability standard for the built environment and works through the whole life cycle of the building, from design for the community scheme to building it in the construction scheme. That then follows through to the building and use scheme. We follow the operational cycle from cradle to grave. I work in the existing buildings scheme, which consists of BREEAM in use, which deals with the operational side of a building, but also we have a refurbishment and fit out scheme where periodically where buildings are fitted out. These schemes provide sustainability standards. They are built on best practice and try to pull the marketplace up from its regulatory minimum through to best practice.
At the show, you were talking about the gap between the design in buildings and the performance thereof once in operation. Could you maybe expand on some of the primary factors that contribute to this gap between design and performance of buildings?
Before we touch on the performance gap, we've got to understand that we are dealing with the whole of the building stock. And a lot of work has been done on new build and regulation for it. However, most people don't realise that it only changes at 0.5% per year. And refurbishment's about another 0.5%. So you're only affecting a small part of the building stock. The main issue is how do we bring the rest of the building stock up to an operational parameter which is acceptable both for the resource management of those organisations and also for the environmental factors as well. Hence why I've been working on the performance gap for the last 12 years. I've been in the UK Green Building Performance Group, Task Group, and also in Innovate UK's Task Group, where we know that there is a gap between the regulatory minimum where we're designing for compliance and the operational parameters. Now that can be addressed with modelling, but modelling will only deal with about a third of that gap. It will tell you how that building should be baselined, but also this gap grows as a function of time. And the reason for that is it's mainly due to management issues. We build very good buildings, we can refurbish them to a decent standard, but we're poor in managing them. Now the industry themselves are starting to realise that, and bodies such as the Better Building Partnership are addressing such issues. And it's really where the fad of contracting out came 15 years ago, where all the risk was put onto the FMs, but they did it at low cost. And of course you get what you pay for. And as a result, those buildings, in terms of performance, are getting worse. Now, this is now affecting fund managers because they need to protect their assets because they're protecting their fund investment. You're also getting longer void times because the occupants are unhappy, and also you're getting lower rentable values because you're actually having to do what's called brown discounting. Now, dealing with this gap is difficult. However, the culture also needs to change, and I've been doing research and working with the industry to try and bridge this gap by changing the culture of the industry and how it's managed, and having the performance indicators and data on board that actually makes this transparent.
Just following on from the previous question about the gap in design and performance, what, in your opinion, or what do you suggest as a bit of a method or methods or ways to kind of address that gap?
That depends where you start, because essentially to actually deal with the gap, you've got to know how big it is and where it is. So you need good data, and you need to manage that data transparently. Once you have that good data, then you can start dealing with the issues, understanding whether it's and what normally happens at the moment is they just deal with kilowatt hours per metre squared. Now that is the symptom. And dealing with the symptoms okay, but it's the equivalent of putting a stem in for a heart failure rather than actually dealing with the primary cause, which may be the diet. So you actually have to go back and look at, okay, we've got the symptom here, what is the data telling me? And dig into what the reasons are behind it, whether it's actually the performance of the kit, the management of the building, the contractual management, or the occupant behaviour, or a combination normally of all of them. Once you understand that, then you can develop culture change, and that's what really is required. The occupants will react, and in the end, they want a comfortable environment to live in. So you can't blame them for their behaviour, because they're just reacting to the circumstances they're going in. So then it comes back to the data shows up managerial flaws, contractual flaws, so then you have to start doing due diligence on what the contractual arrangements are to provide an environment in which the occupants are happy. That then deals with the rentable value and the void times, but also secondary, it will protect the asset because you are running the plant properly and responsibly to actually provide the environment, the building, which the occupants need.
What do you think is not being said enough about this performance gap in the industry? What would you like to bring attention to about this gap? Or what do you think people should know that they might not be concentrating on at the moment?
Let's be candid about it. This is the industry itself accepting that it's got to change in terms of its contractual relationships, where data has to be open and transparent, and they have to deal with them. It's not a case of where it was before, like the financial industry, it's the old boys network. This has to be dealt by open, transparent contractual relationships with people managing the asset properly. And the only way to do that is transparent data and data transfer, so everyone knows how that building is occupied. And secondly, the culture's got to change to the managed asset. It's not just the asset you're protecting, you've got to provide the right environment for the occupants. So therefore you maintain your rentable value and reduce your void time.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight and your knowledge with us today. It was lovely having you at the Wattics Energy Learning Community, and thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.